Namaste and welcome to another episode of Reflecting with AINA. Over the last couple of months, we had the pleasure of meeting a lot of our members here in the US and back from home in India at our annual AINA meeting, and it was just a joy and pleasure to meet everyone and get together. At that meeting, we also got to meet our new leadership, and today I have the pleasure of introducing to all of you our new president, Dr. Aarti Sarwal. She is a professor of neurology at Wake Forest School of Medicine, and she has served many leadership roles, including being the section chief of neurocritical care at Wake Forest, and she was also the medical director for the neurocritical care unit. She's currently also directing the neurocritical care fellowship program and the neurovascular lab at Wake Forest. She's not only a leading expert in neurovascular ultrasound, but she's also a social media expert, I found. She is a social media editor for many of the neurocritical care journals. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Aarti Sarwal. Aarti, thank you so much for joining us today.
Namaste, everybody. Gitanjali, it is an honor and privilege to be on your podcast, and another big honor and privilege to have you as a part of AINA. And it's people like you that have inspired my journey here and got me to where I am. And I hope I can continue to engage people like you. So thank you for including me in these podcasts.
Doing these podcasts has been one of my joys, since I get to meet so many accomplished people and members and kind of get to introduce them to everybody else. So you kind of mentioned, your journey and your path. And I'm like, when I had to do neurocritical months, that was like, I used to get PTSD from that. So tell me a little bit about your early career path, kind of starting all the way back in India, and how you chose to kind of join neurocritical care, and how you kind of progressed in that.
So that's a great question. All of us have big stories and journeys behind where we are today. You're almost taking me, 2-3 decades back now? I can't even remember now. Med school days. I think I got smitten by our neurology professor in the anatomy profs way back first year in med school. And somehow I connected so well with her neurosciences, thanks to her, that I just could not look at any other specialty as something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So Dr. Subhash Kaushal was her name, and I think she's the one to blame. And I was pretty determined after I spent time with the anatomy lab with her that neurology or some form of neuroscience is going to be a big part of my medicine career. Once I graduated MBBS from Government Medical College Patiala, my parents supported me and helped me get my USMLEs done to come and join residency here at University of Missouri. And again, a phenomenal program led by Dr. Pradeep Sahota. Every teacher and faculty there was phenomenal. When I did my ICU rotation, I just had this very strong inkling that neurology is something that still continues to be my focus, but I enjoyed the holistic approach of critical care, of taking care of the body from head to toe, the medicine aspect of it, the acute care aspect of it, and something about the environment that actually brings the best out of me. And I did not know neurocritical care existed at that time as a specialty. And thanks to a few random encounters over the next years, which included my critical care mentor, Dr. Steve Witt, who is a medical ICU attending physician, tried to get me over to ICU. And somehow I figured out that neuro ICU was a specialty, and rest is history. I think I just love the part that you get to take care of body as a whole while keeping the brain as a focus. And especially in the last 2 decades, there are so many therapeutic interventions that have come across that taking care of the patient and getting the patient in a state of physiology to be able to be offered these therapeutic interventions and taking care of the patient afterwards, whether it's cerebrovascular disease, neuromuscular emergencies. It is just such a redeeming experience. I always tell my med students, this is the age of the brain now. This is the uncharted frontier. So neurocritical care just has been a specialty that I think brings the best out of me and allows me that redemption of taking care of patients at the worst times of their life in a way that that really makes it meaningful to be in the medical profession.
I think that I can just feel that the energy and the passion you have in everything you do. I'm sure neurocritical care suits you well, and I'm sure all your patients are blessed to have you on. So that's wonderful. I think you chose the right path.
Thank you.
So I think you bring that same passion and energy to AINA. Like any meeting or any kind of discussions we have, I can just tell that your energy is kind of, contagious, and the excitement and the energy you bring. So I'm excited to see what you do over the next few years. But how did you, and we all have that one person who got us involved in AINA or like an experience. So how did you kind of get involved in AINA, and your journey, kind of how do you feel like you benefited from it, or how did it become a part of your career?
I think the person to blame for in getting me introduced to AINA would be Dr. Pradeep Sahota. He was my program director when I was a neurology resident. And I think I was the constant troublemaker. And somehow he was the president of AINA and basically instructed me as a homework that that's the organization I need to spend my time in. And over the next years, I met a phenomenal number of role models. And the person who was my rock for my AINA journey, I would say, would be Dr. Vinita Singh, a phenomenal leader and role model in a way that is very humble. And she's somebody that inspires so many women leaders in so many different ways. You will never know that she's a neurointensive care physician when you actually meet her. And the sense of calmness she has, and the most phenomenal sounding board ever. And as a foreign medical graduate coming into a very new cultural environment, she really helped me navigate quite a few challenges of, being the only woman in the department, trying to have an ambitious professional career while trying to have a personal life, and just was very formulative in my journey of using this organization as a platform for fruitful collaborations, not just for myself, but also to encourage and pay forward in a way that I was able to express my gratitude. She is the first woman president of this organization, and it was my dream come true to follow in her footsteps. And if I could be half as good as she was, and she continues to be a phenomenal secret force. They say behind every successful man is a successful woman. Behind every successful woman is a village of mentors and role models like her that help us where we are. And Simant Chaturvedi has been a phenomenal force, the most humble servant leader that I have seen, and the amount of effort that he puts into encouraging, sponsoring, advocating young people. And the one thing that really has, I think, kept me in AINA is people like you. All of us, I'm kind of in the middle rung generation. I'm not as old as Dr. Singh Chaturvedi and others, but I'm old enough where I feel that I have benefited so much from the collaborations and friendships and opportunities this organization has given, that it's time to pay that forward, and to see people like you. All we do is sometimes offer a spark or a cinder, and you guys run and take this organization to a whole different new level. That energy is what feeds me and inspires me to continue working. So my hope is that we can continue to, get people like you and hopefully lead AINA in the future. But that's basically what's kept me involved and gives me the energy to continue to be involved as I am.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I totally agree with you. It's kind of this is kind of your home, another home in neurology, where you find these amazing mentors and people that are just ready to help you or encourage you, and, just give you more leads to why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And, so yes, I totally agree with you. I feel like I'm very new compared to all the other senior members, but I've already benefited so much from every member that's helped me. So I totally agree with you. And, that was kind of another thing that I know we've talked about a little bit. How do you feel like you could tell other members, like in their own way, maybe, this is kind of volunteer work. We all have our full-time jobs and our families, and then we try to do a little extra to pay it back. How do you feel like, what are ways you would encourage members to get more involved with AINA? And, what are the different opportunities that you can suggest to them?
Great question, Gitanjali. So I think you raised a very good point that all of us lead very busy professional and personal lives. And the last thing you need is one other volunteer activity on your calendar or one other meeting on your calendar to take care of. But we have these phenomenal community of first, second, and sometimes third generation neurologists of Indian origin that feel a connection together, whether that connection is within us in the North American continent or the connection is back home with our family in the Indian subcontinent. And the first question I would ask everybody is, what is missing right now where AINA can be a solution for you? If what's missing is a connection to meet with other people of your background and share your academic journey, your clinical journey, your educational or research journey, AINA has surprisingly provided a very diverse interprofessional platform to get these people together very organically. We have quite a few people that have expressed interest in research collaborations for both creating new projects that address the needs of the Indian community or the Indian subcontinent community from the perspective of healthcare disparities, the uniqueness of the healthcare issues that we face, the issues of cultural background that goes into health literacy, adherence to medications, and even outcomes for that matter. A platform like AINA and its collaborations with Indian Academy of Neurology is a great way for people to get to know each other from both sides, both for recruiting patients from across the board as well as getting new ideas and perspectives. So I think my request to everybody would be, we have a phenomenal community of neurologists who are engaged with AINA at the leadership level, who have created beautiful committees that you can be engaged in. We have a volunteer mentoring committee led by Dr. Shubhi Agarwal, who has done a phenomenal job of also leading a women in neurology section that she has energized in such a beautiful way. We have a research committee led by Dr. Rajiv Garg that is addressing some of these research collaborations. We have an education committee that you lead, that I'm just looking forward to all the great work that you and your committee are going to do. And then Dr. Atul Kalanuria runs the advocacy committee and the outreach committee for us. In addition to these committees, we have really lively sections now, pretty much representing every subspecialty in neurology. We have a women in neurology section. I'm sure the men will come with a section very soon as well, and so would other diverse populations. But the epilepsy section, the in-training section, movement disorders, our neuroimmunology section has recently become pretty active. And we're also very proud to have a private practice neurology section and a neurologist in industry section that we'll be inaugurating at the next executive committee meeting. So there are so many opportunities. And if any of these opportunities don't interest you or are not fitting to your needs, please reach out to us. AINA as an organization, our biggest agenda is to serve our community in a way that this platform can bring you the collaboration, the opportunities that you otherwise will not get from other organizations, specifically if it pertains to something related to Indian origin or Indian community. So please be engaged, please become a member, reach out to yourself, reach out to me, but we will love to hear from you, love to get you involved in anything you're interested in, or love to hear from you, what else would you like AINA to do for you?
That was, I think that was a great overview of all the initiatives, Aarti, and I know you and the other leadership has been phenomenal in, kind of first of all, I think when you started this process was to say, what is it that the members need? So kind of doing that evaluation of kind of a need evaluation. And I think that's where AINA is going now, is kind of to serve the members. Like, what is it? Why would somebody want to be part of AINA? Not just because you're an Indian, but kind of, serving each other's needs and kind of giving back to either your community or back to your country. And I know we have some camps back home that have started again after COVID, and some fellowship training programs that are, again, just those collaborations between all our Indian physicians here and back home. I think that that collaboration also sometimes is really something we're seeking. We all want to try to do things back home, and the people back home want to try to get some trainings from the latest kind of things like the neurovascular ultrasound that you're doing, kind of getting those recent updates. So, and I think you briefly mentioned the collaboration between AINA and the American Academy of Neurology, which I think is an extremely unique kind of a collaboration, which I don't believe AN has with a lot of other international societies, except I think the World Neurology and then the European Neurology. So tell me a little bit about your experience with that, and what do you foresee as the organization grows, and how does this collaboration benefit members?
That's a great question, Gitanjali. So we have been very fortunate to have ongoing collaboration with the American Academy of Neurology as well as American Brain Foundation. Our community has been sponsoring the AINA Lifetime Achievement Award that is given through the American Brain Foundation. And our annual meetings all happen as a part of an affiliated organization with the American Academy of Neurology at the annual meeting, as you already know. And we are also one of the few organizations that still sponsors trainee travel awards to help our trainees and fellows come to the annual meeting at American Academy of Neurology. And in addition to that, we've had a very long-standing relationship with Indian Academy of Neurology, which is a pretty big organization in itself that has been going over decades. And each year just brings new energy and new forms of collaboration. This year, we are going to expand the collaborations. We've been doing many epilepsy camps in the past. Through our past leadership, we've been offering a lot of educational offerings, and there has been some funded observerships that have been offered to practicing neurologists in India to come here, thanks to the generosity of many of our members and leaders. And we are hoping to solidify that in a more formal form through our sections and committees this year. Our hope is that the education committee, the advocacy committee, the volunteer committee, the research committee all form a path or a bridge with the corresponding sections at Indian Academy of Neurology. I'm very proud to say that one of our members, Pawan Bhargav, has already started solidifying collaborations to have educational exchange and virtual fellowship-like programs with the neuroimmunology section at Indian Academy of Neurology. And while the details get formalized, I'm just very excited to see how much both sides are putting in to allow a mutually beneficial relationship where people here who have expertise in educational realm in that topic are willing to provide their time and effort to help practicing neurologists back home get great educational resources without having to travel all the way to the US and serve the Indian community in that sense. My hope is that as these committees and sections get empowered and these bridges become more of a two-way communication, these collaborations progress organically. And I'm looking forward to your ideas from our members on how more can we open the doors between the Indian subcontinent societies in the Academy of Neurology or neurology societies in US as well. And we're hoping that at some point when American Academy of Neurology has a lot of affiliations with Indian Academy of Neurology as well. And our hope as AINA is to become a very important part of that cross collaboration across North American neurologists and the Indian subcontinent neurologists. So really looking forward to what's coming next, which I think is just going to be bright and awesome.
I can just feel that excitement. So I totally agree. I think we're all looking forward to kind of great things in the future. I mean, Indian neurologists are both here and back home are extremely accomplished and very respected in the neurology community. So I do see great things coming out of the collaboration. So I know you're working extremely hard. You're extremely busy with everything that you're doing, multiple things in different fields, including social media that I found out. When you're not working, how do you like to spend time? I have some hints if I know some things you like to do, which I was surprised, but tell us a little bit about what you like to do. How do you like to unwind outside of work?
I think mostly spending time with family and friends, as all of you guys do. I think it's important. Personal connections outside work are extremely important in fostering your psychological health, especially when you work in an intense care environment like the neuro ICU. I do have some hobbies. I think traveling is my biggest hobby. I've been on an itch to travel to a new country and learn the culture, not just check off the touristy places, and have been blessed with being able to do that after COVID. I love tasting the food of different cultures and different cuisines and understanding where the history of the food comes from. On a day-to-day basis, when I'm not traveling, I love dancing. I take dancing lessons, and that's a big piece of both my physical and psychological health. I do work out, both CrossFit, and I'm an Olympic weightlifter, which is kind of a non-traditional activity for an Indian woman. But those are the kind of things that I keep. And then a couple of us, as our friend circles, we've gotten recently addicted to Settlers of Catan, and very geeky about it. So we are board game people. It all depends, I think. And there are some days where, I just want to sit down, chillax, and sit on the patio and over a cup of chai and, enjoy a nice, pair of samosas with some imli chutney, usual things. So, gupshup and gupshup and what do you call, little chit chat here with our neighbors and stuff. So it's a different day every day.
That's so just like kind of your professional where you're so diverse and you're great at everything. I think you like to relax in the same way, from like doing CrossFit and weightlifting to just sitting and drinking chai. So, and it's always a pleasure to chit chat, or, any kind of conversation with you is always fun and enlightening. So I really appreciate you taking, I know you've had a busy week with a lot of deadlines. So I appreciate you taking the time today and talking to our members and just telling them a little more about just being engaged in whatever way they want. And I think a great message that I heard from you was, we want to hear, what would you want from the organization? So if you're not finding something that's engaging enough, what would you want from the organization? And everybody's ready to listen and hopefully, bring that to the organization if that's missing. So thank you, Aarti, again, for spending time with us. And I look forward to wonderful things in your leadership.
Same here, Gitanjali. Thank you for making me a part of this phenomenal podcast series, and looking forward to all the awesome things you're going to do. If you're listening to this podcast, please look out for future editions by Dr. Gitanjali Rathore. And please consider joining AINA. And reach out to either one of us. We'll put our contact information in the end, and let us know. We want to hear from you. We want to hear from you if you want to get involved, or your ideas on how we can serve your needs better. Thank you, Gitanjali.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.